What's up, y'all? This is DijahSB, and you are listening to the Cabbages Hip Hop Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Cabbages Hip Hop Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Suarez. I'm a music journalist and critic, and I write a twice-weekly hip-hop newsletter called Cabbages, which you can subscribe to for free at CabbagesHipHop.com. Joining me as always is my very stoned co-host, music industry insider Jeffery Laughlin. It's season 3 of the podcast, but this week we're taking a break from stoner comedies to talk about a movie that felt like a pretty bad trip. Yes, today we'll be talking about Space Jam: A New Legacy, the 2021 cinematic brand extension that prompted Entertainment Weekly to ask, quote, "Why does this movie exist?" Beats me. Now we'll get into the show in just a minute, but please, if you're listening and you haven't done this already, please subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. And if you can rate the show 5 stars, that would be even better. And if you can do all that and write a review, well, you can come smoke with Jeff anytime. He says it's okay. Really. Thank you. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest for today's show. Joining us now is DijahSB. The Toronto-based rapper's new album is called Head Above the Waters and was recently shortlisted for Canada's esteemed Polaris Music Prize. The album is available wherever music is streamed or sold, as is their latest single, New Balance. Hello and welcome.
What's going on, guys?
What's going on is Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Yeah, I watched it, and you know what? I watched the original Space Jam right after, and I have a lot of things to discuss.
Well, that's great.
This is excellent news.
We absolutely have lots of things to discuss about these Space Jam movies.
Totally.
Before we get too deep into this conversation, I'd love to get your perspective or get a sense of your history with the Space Jam franchise, with the original film, and with Looney Tunes in general.
Looney Tunes was huge in my household growing up. You realize how ridiculous it is as you get into adulthood. And I think we knew as kids how ridiculous it was, but it was just a lot more tolerable as a child. But rewatching it as an adult, it's just like, wow, this is some really loony shit. Like, I get it now. It all came full circle. But it's funny, I wasn't really like a big 90s kid. Like, I don't really remember a lot of the 90s. And being like, I was born in 93.
Okay.
So to give context.
Sure.
So I don't remember watching Space Jam as like a kid. I think I only watched it in my early adulthood. But I do recall the first time I watched it, like believing like this was the best movie ever, to be honest.
It's a fantastic film.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, what was your experience with the original Space Jam?
We were old when it came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was not intended as a target to us, and we weren't parents. So we weren't, I just
You
wasn't
say old, but it's old. You're talking about you were like 15 or something, right?
Yeah. Like, it wasn't really targeted at, that age group per se. But I was such a Looney Tunes fan. I didn't like go see it in the theater or anything, but I've seen it multiple times. And it's pretty delightful. It's loony, which I feel like none of the other films are in a lot of ways. Where like the characters are allowed to be the characters. Like Bugs Bunny is Bugs Bunny. You know what I mean? I remember really liking it. It's been a while. I didn't dust it off for this conversation.
Well, it's okay as long as Dijah and I prepared for the call.
No, totally. That's really what it's all about, is that I do a minimal amount of work for this.
Yeah, clearly. No.
2 movies, Gary? Who has time?
It shows.
Who has time? I have a lot of push-ups to do.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, a lot of hit push-ups. Yes, right.
Mm-hmm.
My history with the Space Jam films. Again, I was a teenager when it came out, and I was working in like after-school programs, so I got exposed to it. I think through VHS. So I think when it
Yes.
came out on VHS, it was a film that you stuck into the VCR in front of the kids in the after-school program when it got too hot in the summer to go outside
So
anymore.
you saw this movie a lot.
So I saw this a decent bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I grew up, Looney Tunes was definitely one of the things that was thrown at me.
One of my first favorite things.
Yeah. I don't know necessarily whether I would call it a favorite. I don't feel like I think I watched a lot of cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid. I watched a ton of cartoons, but I'm not going to say that it necessarily was like, these were my shows.
I watched them every day religiously if I could.
I would watch. It's a cartoon. It's on TV. I'm going to watch it. But it wasn't like my world. So like when Space Jam happened, Space Jam took a cartoon that I wasn't exactly like amazed by as a kid. Now I'm a teenager. And it took basketball, which I didn't have much of any opinion about as a teenager, and put those together. Now, Jeff, obviously you're a basketball fan.
I was playing, and I have accrued way too many hours of watching professional basketball. Way too many. Like it's incalculable at this juncture.
And Dijah, so basketball for you as a kid, was that something you paid much attention to? Did you play recreationally? Did you watch games?
Huge. So I played up until high school, and basketball was like everything to me, in terms of especially my favorite at the time, my favorite player, Allen Iverson. Like I credit him to finding myself as a child, struggling with being mask presenting, but not understanding what that meant at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the times I got the label tomboy, and not knowing what that meant at the time was frustrating, because everybody else or all the other girls were kind of into different things, and I'm here braiding my hair like Allen Iverson. So for me, it was more so like basketball was like, yeah, my favorite sport, but also like culturally impacted my life as well.
So then it kind of makes sense to me why a movie like Space Jam, when you did ultimately watch it, would mean something, would be interesting or valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're seeing two things you enjoy. And I think that I wanted to get the perspective, because I feel like there's a nostalgia factor to bringing out a sequel so much later than the original. You know, we're talking about 1996 is the original. You know, it made like $90 million in the US and Canada, 230 million worldwide. You know, it was directed by like a legit director, Joe Pytka, who done like Michael Jackson videos, had done not a ton of movies, interestingly enough, but had done a lot of commercial work, including the original, like the OG, like 1992 Nike commercial where Michael Jackson and Bugs Bunny first met up. So like there was a history there.
He had Looney Tune experience.
Yeah, so it was sort of like the experience of bringing Looney Tunes, specifically Bugs, into the world of us people. So I feel like it's important to kind of get that context before we start talking about this film, because it sets expectations. Our nostalgia, our history with Looney Tunes, with Space Jam, with basketball, spectating, playing, or otherwise, plays into this. So when you first heard that LeBron was going to be the star of Space Jam 2, which is we now are Space Jam: A New Legacy, what was your kind of first impressions about that?
Honestly, I understood the assignment at the time. I understood how global LeBron had become. I understand how much of an impact he had made on the NBA, but I didn't understand the impact that he made culturally, I would say. Like, nobody can actually compare to Michael Jordan's sneaker sales at all. And with LeBron, he has some iconic sneakers. He does. I won't ever say he doesn't, but
I own some.
Yeah,
Real
I
talk.
feel
Yeah.
like I feel like it's just such culturally it just didn't hit for me. And we'll obviously go into details about like the things that we found that was very 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 distinct and different from while comparing the two. But I feel like it didn't hit for me culturally um, why LeBron was chosen to do Space Jam 2.
I
If we're looking at somebody else, I think Kobe would have been a much better staple to serve as the main character for Space Jam. Just culturally, he just hits a little bit differently than LeBron, and I hope that is making sense what I'm saying.
It is.
somewhat,
It is
yeah,
because
absolutely. I think also, MJ came into Space Jam cold. He wasn't an actor. It
Mhm.
was kind of well known in the world that like getting him. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the old outtakes from like Gatorade commercials
no.
with MJ. Oh, definitely look these up. I'm not going to do too much of an impression, but it basically paints like MJ was very bad at this. And it's like wild because you just don't think of MJ as being bad at anything.
Right.
Except baseball.
He would go back in time and rethink what you're saying. He was getting good. Anyway, moving on. Not to get political about the baseball career of Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan was a cold, uninviting person.
Mhm.
And LeBron is the exact opposite. All of this
Yeah.
is really weird. And like LeBron has been in other movies
Mhm.
and he's been to Hollywood sets and he's acted.
Mhm.
Whereas Michael Jordan was commercials. He did commercials and stuff, but he had never been, super in a movie. He never had like speaking parts in a movie, I don't think.
You
Yeah,
know,
no, that's true.
you just hit it on the head for me as to why it didn't resonate with me that much.
Mm.
Because with even the digital age and Instagram and Twitter, we're so already into his life and
Yeah,
into all of the things that we know LeBron. You know what I mean?
totally. And I really expected this film to like boost LeBron's image like it kind of did for MJ. You know what I mean? Like Michael Jordan was a household name and was like globally recognized, but you didn't see him speak all that much unless it was in interviews or, again, a very cold sort of understanding of who that person was.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of this movie started out essentially being like, so LeBron's kind of a jerk of a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a bunch of career highlights of him, including the decision, which was like his least shining moment.
Yeah.
Like one of the worst things. Like, why are we focusing on this? And the movie continued to do this where it was like LeBron's inflexible. He's too focused. He's not paying attention to the people around him and what they need. And from all I know, and from all we know from the insane amount of coverage on this human being, the exact opposite is true.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that threw me. It does, you don't have to do a movie and be yourself, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
it just seems weird to me that MJ would never take a film and be like, yo, this makes me look bad.
Mm-hmm.
He would never. And maybe that just speaks to the flexibility of LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
But this was really weird to me.
But look, if Tweety Bird is telling you you're a bad dad,
Right.
then there's something wrong with the script.
One of the biggest jerks in the Looney Tunes catalog.
Like, there's a point in the film where Tweety Bird, in front of people, just says, "You're a bad dad."
Just like lays it out on the table. LeBron James, as a father, you are a failure.
Yo.
And we're losing by somewhere in the vicinity of 400 points. Right.
In a different movie, that would have brought the character to tears.
Totally.
Yeah.
In this,
Yeah.
it's just another moment in the midst of a crazy fake basketball game.
Oh, and LeBron's reaction is just like, dang, like, maybe you're right.
You're right.
Cartoon bird.
Cartoon bird.
Now that we've spoken twice, this is really, I think you should call me out as a dad. This is how it works. People all the time walk up to me and say, you're a terrible father. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I don't have kids, but thank you for pointing it out.
I'm just going to start calling you a bad dad in the Tweetyverse voice
I'm
every time
fine
I
with
see
this.
you.
I'm fine with this. This is the way we're supposed to interact as the Looney Tunes universe wants us to.
Cartoon bird.
All of that stuff, all that exposition, the LeBron as a child, the family stuff is basically like a shitty copy of the first 10 minutes of the original Space Jam movie. Or
Right.
really the first like 6
Full
minutes
agree.
of the first Space Jam movie. The
Right.
first Space Jam movie, there's the scene where Michael Jordan is a child playing basketball at night in the backyard of the house, and his dad comes out. And they have a very nice moment together. And then it's the highlight reel of Michael Jordan's accomplishments, the Olympics, all these great things. And then it goes into quote unquote present day, and you see a bit of his home life and, you know, issues with his kids, but he's not painted in a bad light in any of that.
Mm-hmm.
The point being, the creators of Space Jam 2 basically said, why don't we just do a version of that, but let's do that for like 27 minutes.
And also, it'll be wildly unnecessary.
Let's do it for like 27 minutes, and then we'll introduce Bugs Bunny.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know if you guys noticed, it took 27 minutes before we met a single Looney Tune in a 2-hour movie for children.
Yes. Now that you've broken it down like that, it makes so much sense how this movie just did not hit the same. And that's just not to say that I didn't enjoy it. I was laughing because I am a child, but there is just that feeling where, it was less about, and let's talk about like even like cartoon version of LeBron. What was that? That was strange to me. I don't know if that was strange to you guys.
I watched this movie with my wife, who often doesn't watch the movies for the podcast with me because she values her time. And she watched Space Jam 2 with me twice, as it turned out, because I watched it twice. But the first time, she paid attention while watching it. And the moment that LeBron turned into a cartoon, she was deeply troubled. She was visibly uncomfortable.
This is the first time in this universe where a human tune crossover has happened.
Michael Jordan was not a cartoon.
No. Brendan Fraser, not a cartoon.
Michael Jordan entered the Toon world, which was in the center of the earth or something in Space Jam 1, and was still Michael Jordan.
Right.
LeBron enters the Toon world in the Warner serververse, which we're going to talk about.
Oh, God.
And is automatically transformed into a Toon. So already we lose continuity if we cared about continuity, and we don't. Let's just be honest.
Do we not?
Really
okay,
I don't think we can. I don't think we can care about continuity when it's been this many years and it's not the same place.
It's not in space at all. It's not in space.
This movie is called Space Jam 2, and they never go to space.
You know, F9 went to space for way longer than this film.
Seriously.
Fast and Furious 9, a movie about car racing, superhero CIA agent, rogue humans, went to space.
How did Luda go to space?
Never went to space. Tyrese in space.
How is Tyrese go to space before LeBron James?
No space for LeBron.
Answer that question.
We're going to put him inside a server. One of the most boring places I could think to put a person of that ilk, of that like general popularity. Let's face him off against an algorithm. I don't get it.
They tried to make it modern. I get it.
What's more modern than space, Dijah? What is more modern than space? Like, it's been the dream on the tip of the fingers of humanity since the beginning of time. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I would love to
Computers
see
have been around for like 20 minutes of the timeline for humans. I'm good on that. No, space is it for me. I was really mad when this was going to be inside a computer.
Actually, they were in space for a bit.
Were they?
Yeah.
Are we wrong?
When they're training for the basketball game, aren't they on a spaceship?
Yes, but they're in a spaceship within the server.
Right, they're within.
So they're in a simulation
okay.
of space.
So it's
Because they steal Marvin the Martian's spaceship,
Right.
which is called, and I'm sorry, I find this very uncomfortable to say, the Martian Maggot is the name of the spaceship. I don't like saying that phrase. I'm just telling you right now. I didn't like reading it on the screen, and I don't like saying it right now, because when I watch it the second time, I paused a lot during the basketball game to see all the wonderful IP characters that were displayed out there. And there was a point where I saw the spaceship, and it only had AGGOT visible on the screen. And that's when I knew I was not comfortable with this film.
What the hell?
Hold on. Is this like with the Disney films, like when a lion lays down, the dust spells sex? But only
Are we going to talk about the penis castle in the cover of the Little Mermaid artwork?
Let me tell you something real now. Okay, so my mom was a kindergarten teacher. So I had to watch like The Little Mermaid and Sword in the Stone. I had to watch these movies a billion times. I can quote them. I can sing all the songs. Every time I came home, they were like, you know what I'm saying? Every time I got out of school, there's a bunch of kids in my mom's classroom and she's not going to like teach them anymore. The hours are over. So they just watch movies. Every day, different kids, same 5 to 10 movies. The cover of Little Mermaid on VHS copies in that era absolutely had a penis on it. It was real as hell. And to the point of this, after a while, I just circled it with a marker so people would stop asking. I'd just be like, there it is. It's inside the circle. I'm tired of finding this thing for you. But
that's
yes,
nuts.
It looks like a penis.
I didn't even know that's what the spaceship was called.
So when they are in the Martian spaceship, they're not actually in space. It's a simulation of space during that period, because all of they designed it as all of the various parts of IP are planets of some sort.
Totally. This movie kind of felt like a simulation of Space Jam. Like if a computer recreated the original movie with like AI or something and new actors.
It felt like a simulation of a movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but a specific movie. A movie we already saw.
Hi, I'm Gary Suarez, President and CEO of Cabbages, and I'm here today to tell you about a great new show coming to the Cabbages Podcast Network.
Cabby Wabby.
It's called Dunscast, and it's all about what the kids today call gaming.
It's tense.
Every week, New York rapper Dunscap and his co-host / DJ, Samurai Banana, discuss video games, gaming culture, and their platonic male friendship.
You can just feel us glaring at each other.
Whether you're a Final Fantasy fanatic, a Fortnite dance champ, or simply a hip-hop head who can't live without a PS5, there's something here for you.
Maybe you'll have something in common with us, and we could rescue you from your loneliness.
It's funny, it's insightful, it's relatable, it even gets a little blue. But don't just take it from me. Here's Dunscap himself to tell us why you should listen to this new podcast.
Hey, you might be sitting there thinking, I like hip hop and video games, but is there at least a place on the internet that I could listen to two friends talk about video games while also having an underlying code of interest that is hip hop? Maybe those two friends have made music together in the past, but don't talk about it at all because that would be lame. Instead, they talk about their favorite video games, maybe about each other, learn things along the way, and get controversial. That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Am I supposed to like advertise this thing or?
No, you're perfect.
I hate being perfect. I'm too perfect. I pretend to like things and I pretend to like Mike.
Dunscast with Samurai Banana. Brought to you by the people who brought you the hip hop podcast Cabbages, which Dunscap was on. Wink. Hope you enjoy it.
Okay, so I want to know something really quickly. Did you enjoy the film? Did you like it generally, or were you bothered and kind of annoyed?
I enjoyed it at first, but then when I realized that it was just a way for Warner Brothers to flex their intellectual property, I was kind of just very thrown off. And then everybody was having the conversation on Twitter that it's not for us. It's not for us. It's not for the older generation. I don't feel like it was for kids at all.
No.
that aspect. Like I feel like
And why is the entire crowd references to my childhood
exactly
if
that,
they're not marketing it toward me?
exactly. And the whole multi-universe where they had to save all of the other people, like they had to save Lola from like or take Lola from like trying to be a Wonder Woman person thing, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like that was so strange. Like they had the opportunity to make it so simple. Like I feel like they threw in way too much. You threw in way too much.
No,
You
please.
could have just made it a literally just LeBron son gets kidnapped by some alien fuck that looks like the son of the guy that who was the original villain? What was his name? Did he have a name?
I forget what his name is, but he ran the
Yeah.
amusement park. Danny DeVito did the voice, but I don't forget the name offhand.
Yes. His son comes and wants revenge for Michael Jordan fucking up his entire
Classic
theme
Scooby-Doo
park.
caper.
Yeah.
The son of Swackhammer.
Yes.
Comes back.
Swackhammer Jr.
Swackhammer Jr.
He steals LeBron's son and says, "Look, if you win this game, blah 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 blah," and just go from there. How much more simple would that have been versus like throwing in all of these just like it felt like a whole bunch of little stories trying to become one, and it didn't feel complete.
Inside of a computer, battling an algorithm, which I don't know how to tell people this, but algorithms aren't human and they can be controlled.
Yes.
Just to throw that out there, is that like we can control it if we really feel like it. We can stop algorithms from like being stupid and annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
This is a cautionary tale because this is what happens if you let an algorithm run amok. You get Yosemite Sam in Casablanca as the Sam playing piano.
Easily the best part of that film. The whole
Daffy for sure.
Yeah, Daffy always wins. Daffy was my favorite from the get-go.
Bro,
I mean, I actually went back and watched today. I watched Daffy Duck as Stupor Duck. From the original, like I don't know, 1950 something.
Yes.
Run from that episode, and I remembered that episode almost by heart. I clearly had watched it a ton of times. It's an
incredible episode.
It was hurtful to see it in this way.
Yeah.
But the problem really is like when they're bringing all this IP in, yes, you see Harry Potter, yes, you see Game of Thrones, but there's so much that comes in both in those scenes where they're bringing the team together, and then when they have all of these characters courtside watching the basketball game. How ancient are these references? Why is Bugs Bunny do a William Shatner impression on the spaceship? Why does the Adam West Batman theme play when they're in DC World? But
it's a movie. Remember, it's a movie that's directed at kids who are definitely going to understand these references.
Kids are not going to understand Austin Powers 2, The Spy Who Shagged Me from 1999 with Elmer Fudd as Mini-Me.
And nor should they. Okay.
Are they even going to get MC Hammer's You Can't Touch This?
Oh.
I reject this premise that this movie is not for us because those references are for us and our parents, and in some cases, Casablanca, our fucking grandparents.
There's this pressure in a lot of ways to, when you create a Looney Tunes movie, I feel like you have to recreate the humor of like 1950s, 1960s world, which is nearly impossible. It's been done so many times now. You weirdly reverent to the old days of this thing, of Looney Tunes, but also like wildly disrespectful of like these characters are terrible. They're wooden. They do like, most of them get like their one line. I'm like, oh yeah, remember Elmer Fudd? Now he's gone. You don't really hear from him again.
Do you know what happened?
You didn't get a lot of looniness in these tunes. They were just worried the whole time. The only real time that we got to hang out with a Looney Tune character doing the damn thing was when Wile E. Coyote made the like 400, 700 point play And then LeBron pulled him from the game. He's the game's top scorer. LeBron was even a bad coach in this movie. This dude just put up 700 points, and you were like, all right, let's go with Tweety Bird.
I think what happened here, and this is giving me so much more perspective as to why I low-key hated it.
That makes me sad.
Yeah. Over what I low-key hated it, but still enjoyed it, is because this was not a Looney Tunes movie.
It wasn't.
The first Space Jam was a Looney Tunes movie.
Yep.
This one was not a Looney Tunes movie, and it comes with the plot, and the plot being one of those old age tales where the kid's dad is some star in something, and the dad wants him to be a star in it too, but he wants to be like something nerdy, like a fucking graphic designer or some shit. And the dad's like, no, you have to do this, like fucking High School Musical shit, Troy Bolton shit. Like,
it's this, and this is a trope.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
a trope where dads are big dumb oafs that force their kids into being them, which is a thing that has happened in the world a lot, including with me. But not all dads are like this. In fact, most of them are caring, cool people that don't hate their wives. And you know what I mean? Like in these tropes, that's what happens. In this one, it's a little tamer on LeBron, thankfully, but it does make him look like an asshole.
It does. And yeah, I feel like they just should have like left it less focused on that sort of plot and more focused on giving us a Looney Tunes kind of like movie. I knew as soon as they took away Lola Bunny's titties that it would go downhill. I knew it. I was like,
okay,
so
this has been a thing that I've been really, really fascinated with, and that's the internet perception of Lola Bunny.
Yeah.
And a lot of I've done some meme studying. And in the meme studying I did, it seems that there was a certain cross-section of human that was really devastated by a less, I guess, classically hot Lola Bunny.
Yeah, it was fucking weird. It got a little weird.
People got really upset.
Yeah, it was fucking weird.
That a basketball player would resemble a basketball player.
And then when I rewatched
Dragon Slayer would look like they are buff.
When I rewatched the original one, I'm like, she wasn't even that sexualized. Like she was
not
flirty. She was just flirty.
They did a great job of making a character that like Bugs Bunny would totally fall.
Yeah. And that's literally the Looney Tunes. Like them getting fucking batshit crazy in love with some
immediate love. Oh, they all fall in immediate love all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally
all those guys would just be like the heart eyes, and then something would like hit their head and they'd fall over like
and their heart is like beating out of their chest,
palpitating. Yeah, it's the best joke. I love it so much.
Exactly.
My favorite is when Bugs or somebody would dress up like a woman and they would go nuts. The best is like Yosemite Sam ones. He always ends up dressing like a girl bunny. And he and everyone else around them are like stumbling over themselves to be the one that opens the door for this rabbit with fake boobs. And it's like
a lipstick.
Every single time a hilarious trope. I love it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
I think there's something off about people's memories of Lola Bunny. Because again, as Dijah said, like I rewatched Space Jam 1 and she's not like Chesty LaRue or anything like that. That's not what's going on.
Bro, she was balling.
But what I do remember was that when they used to do all those bootleg Tasmanian Devil with the backwards hat, Bugs Bunny arms folded shirts.
Yes.
Lola Bunny was stacked.
He had spray painted titties, like huge.
Those.
So I think that's the memory. That's the memory that people, these little perverts have.
Those shirts are the like fan fiction of that time.
Yeah.
Is that like people truly remember a like crisscross gangsta version of the Tasmanian Devil who can like rap and is like, nope. If you ever watch the originals, he's just a big dumb monster. It's really hard to deal with him because he's a big dumb monster. It's incredible.
And let's not bring up Porky Pig.
Oh
the
my God.
freestyle.
Porky.
All right. Now, this is why this is a hip hop podcast, because when
Yes.
moments like this occur, we have to ask the experts.
Yes.
And Dijah,
Yes.
what did you think
Well,
of
yes. Hit it.
the notorious PIG's
Oh,
freestyle over Flavor in Your Ear?
I wanted to eat my hand. Like,
That is specific.
first of all,
oh,
Notorious
shit, that's
P.I.G.
good.
Notorious P.I.G.
Oh yes.
Okay, but second of all, let's really remember what even occurred for it to go into that. It was just so random. It like there was nothing that said that Porky Pig was a rapper, or that there was going to be any sort of performance, or like they just what was it leading up to? I think it was like a timeout, and they were trying to get like style points or some shit.
Yeah, I think what happened is Algae Rhythm, Don Cheadle, said something that triggered in the game a battle mode, a rap battle mode.
God.
And he didn't intend to. And then they immediately went to Porky Pig, the Looney Tune who famously has the speech impediment, and said, "You go out there and you spit hot fire."
Could have been anybody else.
The quote is from LeBron himself. LeBron says, "Hey Porky, fry him."
Oh my God, that is so bad.
I'm
And you know what?
miserable
You know what they
talking.
did too to torture us? Yeah, you know what they did to torture us? They released that specific clip as promotion. That is torture.
Totally.
That is
That was
fucking
like
torture.
part of the sales of the movie. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
this happened in Tom and Jerry. We did a Tom and Jerry episode. It was also a one-off during like a larger season of other stuff. And in that is it pigeons at the beginning that
There's
rap?
pigeons, yeah.
They rap like old school rap. I forget
They
who.
do Tribe.
Oh, yeah, it's
Tribe.
They do Tribe. But
Oh,
to be
God.
fair, they are like dancing around and rapping like it's Tribe's voices.
Mm.
It's like the song. They're basically lip syncing the song. It's completely pointless pandering nonsense. But it's like it's the song itself. So at
Right.
least there's this world where like kids who are watching Tom and Jerry are like, "What is this? Oh, well, this is a specific brand of
Yeah.
sick hip hop that like I just so happen to have lots of old copies of, or I know how to look up on Spotify for you."
Right.
This was like original music, and they picked the stuttering pig to deliver and called him after a rapper that would like, I don't know. What do you think Biggie's reaction with that to be? Like, do you think that would be an honor?
I think Diddy would try his best and probably has to gouge some money out of that.
Yeah,
to get
that's a good
some
point.
royalties.
That's a good point. I don't know. I'm sitting in the neighborhood where that dude grew up.
Yeah, and
And
even
I just like sighed really hard and was like, please,
yeah,
please
was
don't
so
be
mad.
original rap. Please. Please don't do this. And I knew it was going to happen because I'd already seen it happening in the commercial. And I was like, it's really happening. Like, this is a scene in the film. This is given weight and gravity to the most important part of the basketball game.
And it's still, if you bring it into the 2021 context, it's still not the worst musical moment in the Space Jam cinematic universe. Because the worst musical moment in the Space Jam cinematic universe is the existence of R. Kelly's. "I Believe I Can Fly."
Oh yeah, I caught myself.
Because now we know. Now we know.
I caught myself singing it. I was like, oh fuck, god damn it.
Oh,
Like-
listen, I understand that this is a monstrous human being who deserves no respect. But it's
None.
It's tough to get that one out of your head, man.
Bro, the guy
It's a
is
catchy jam, and if somebody else sang it, it would still be as sweet. If Peebo Bryson sang that, it would be a smash hit forever.
the guy who wrote and made music and didn't know how to read it and write. Like like he's fucking. It is like, it disturbs me that he can't be celebrated because he's such a piece of shit. Like it's just so sad. But even like the track list and the soundtrack for this movie was fucking ass.
Oof.
Fucking ass, bro.
Seriously, why?
Pure
How is it
garbage.
that, given how memorable the music was in Space Jam 1, and I'm not just talking about R. Kelly, because you got Quad City DJs doing
Yeah.
the Space Jam theme song.
Uh-huh.
That was Jam, and then you had let's not forget, Hit 'Em High, the Monstars anthem, Be Real, Coolio, Meth,
Sick.
LL, and
Nuts.
Busta, with a music video directed by Hype Williams.
Nuts.
Completely insane.
So that's Space Jam 1, and this one they got Lil Baby and Kirk Franklin.
Stupid. Who was in charge of putting that together?
Algae Rhythm. You know what else was a part of the movie? And I think my favorite part of the movie, if there's a part that I liked, it's when Bugs Bunny dies. Because if there's one thing I agreed with Algae Rhythm on, it's that the Looney Tunes are washed up and don't need to come back.
I'm with
And
that.
And the stupid move that killed him too.
Ugh.
It's the only reason why that game-breaking glitch had to be a thing. So that way, at the end of the movie, Bugs Bunny does LeBron's signature move and then dies from doing it.
That was a terrible part of the movie. Oh my god.
He
That was so bad.
transforms into a beacon of light. I mean, that's where the Kirk Franklin part comes in. I mean, that's probably Kirk Franklin's note right there. Of course, they couldn't leave him dead.
No.
1 week later, he is in the human world.
And he says, "I'm a Looney Tune. I don't die." What?
But man, we had like a whole week where Bugs Bunny was dead. I mean, look, he's been dead since Looney Tunes Back in Action, for all I care.
We spoke
I love
on this
that
a little
movie.
earlier, but ever since they introduced humans into this, they Muppetized the Looney Tunes, everything has gone downhill. And this is just the latest in what doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is interesting this rift is now open and that anybody who just does a move like LeBron will go human.
All you have to do is die.
Do they feel pain once they go to the human world? I want to know more about this quantum leap ass bullshit. I
don't know, but is it worth it? Because they're still able to go into like other movies. They were able to go into like Game of Thrones and shit. They were to be in these other things that are not animated, or at least not animated in the like cartoon Looney Tunes way.
Okay.
Like, and do it. Like,
Fair.
What's the benefit of going into the real world, which is not really all that exciting? I guess you get to like actually go and sit courtside to watch LeBron play. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's all right. I mean, there's like, I don't even know, like, does Bugs Bunny have taste buds in the real world? So you got me on this quantum leap shit now. Now I'm thinking.
No, real talk.
my
Like, I
God.
need to know. I need to know more about that than I do anything else in the movie.
Okay,
This
so
rift,
I'm gonna
this rift from a computer server verse. That's what it was, server verse.
Yeah.
Rift into the real world. Is Bugs Bunny free? Does Bugs Bunny now have the full capability of humanity? Or
Is it like the Matrix?
right? Or is this just like a really freak thing, and no one else can see Bugs Bunny?
Ooh.
I want to know how that works. I know it won't happen, and that if we ever do get another one of these, it will just be awful and be another callback. But
I think my biggest concern about Bugs Bunny existing in our world, in the real world, is that invariably Bugs Bunny is going to get canceled when they find out about all those cartoons he did between
100%. I was
1930 and
thinking
1969. There's some racist shit in there.
as soon as people discover that a cartoon has crossed over into the real world, they're going to go back and watch all of that stuff.
They're going to light his ass up on Twitter.
And boy,
I love it.
it is not kind to the Japanese peoples.
No, it's not good.
It's super uncool.
There's a lot of bad shit in there.
Yeah.
And you can watch it all on HBO Max.
You can. You can.
It's the Cabbages Podcast Network.